Hey guys, it's Jake from Wani here. I am here with the ever amazing Mikael Stanne from Dark Tranquillity. Mikael, how are you going, man?
Hey, man. Hey, pleasure to talk to you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Very well. We'll jump straight into it. Dark Tranquillity,
Sure.
you guys have a new album coming out on November 4th. It's titled Atoma. Can you tell me a little bit about the title and perhaps the meaning behind the album?
Oh, well, yeah, it's going out soon. It's just a couple more weeks. It's super exciting for us. Something that we've been worked on for, ever, it seems. We figured, like, once we started finalizing the songs, we started thinking about the potential titles and what we should call these collection of songs. And it came down to, like, a discussion me and Niklas had about, like, what is it really about? And I guess we were reevaluating ourselves and kind of like second guessing our existence and our band and what we were doing and all that kind of stuff because of stuff that has happened lately in the band that kind of needed to reevaluate things. And we started thinking about, like, the end of things and maybe about, like, new beginnings and new starts and new things that potentially could happen, in the future, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we kind of distilled it down to the core of what it is that we do. What is it that we came up together all these years ago, and that is still kind of going strong in a way. And so we figured, like, Atoma, it's like, even though it doesn't really mean anything, it means a lot, And
Yeah.
I was really intrigued. Like, Nick has suggested it to me, and I was like, oh man, actually it totally works, because I've been working on the lyrics for the album for 6 months or something like that.
Yep.
And it kind of perfectly fit. It was like, yeah, it actually does work. I mean, it's vague enough to be intriguing, but it actually works well with most of the songs as well on the album. So it was something that just clicked and kind of came together in that perfect way that I love when that happens, because normally it's just a process of, like, going through 2,000 different suggestions and then eventually boiling it down to one. But
Yeah.
This was kind of instant in a way, and I love that when that happens.
Would like to commend you on the album because it is a great album.
Cool, thank you.
I understand that you guys originally had about 20 tracks that were written down by Anders, the drummer, and also Martin Brandstrom, and they had sort of organised those tracks before the band came together and shaved it down to the 12 that are on the album. What's the sort of democratic process that you guys go through to try and trim some of those tracks down?
I think we know each other so well that democratic process kind of works naturally now. Like, we don't really have to vote on things anymore. Sometimes it comes down to a vote, but that's pretty rare.
Yeah.
It's more of like, I'm not really feeling this part. I'm like, all right, cool, and we move on, or we skip that, or we make it better, that kind of stuff. So and normally, like, once we had all these kind of like these 20 songs more or less, we were trying them out, just demoing and seeing if something kind of what felt right and what didn't feel right, basically. And once we started that, we were like, all right, it's like, this song really has potential, this one as well, and this was like, I really feel this. And so that's kind of how we started. And eventually we said, okay, but maybe we need some more. And then Niklas started writing some songs, and Martin B wrote some songs on his own. And then we realized, all right, now actually we have, like, the perfect 12 songs for the album,
Okay.
So but it was a great start to just have the material. But it's like, more than anything, I think it's important to find a direction. You can have as much material as you like, but if you can't really put it together and, like, kind of form something that is new and interesting, then it doesn't mean anything yet. It's just there. It's a starting point, but it's when it kind of comes together and you kind of form structures and song ideas out of them, then eventually, then finally they become something.
Yeah, and you've sort of touched on something that I was actually going to ask you about next in the like theming things together. And I guess from my initial impressions of the album, the material seems very, I guess, dark compared to some of the previous Dark Tranquillity albums, and that sort of shines through in tracks like Encircled and Neutrality and Merciless Fate. Some of them actually seem to have like a downright eerie sort of feel to them, but at the same time, I guess they're also a bit uplifting. Is Do you ever find it difficult to try and write, I guess, lyrically material that goes along and I guess corroborates with the music so well?
It's something that I always want, and I hate it if I don't really get that feeling. If I hear a song that we kind of finished, and I just go like, I don't know where to go lyrically with this one.
Yeah.
Then if I'm not feeling it, then it won't really work. But thankfully, it almost always does. I mean, you always kind of find some angle, and something that kind of catches you and makes you want to write. So more than anything, what I do is like when I get a song that we kind of finished, and when the other guys are finished, then I just immediately put it on super loud, like turn on my microphone and start screaming and kind of record my initial impressions of it.
Yeah.
Like, maybe even like the first time I listen to it, I will kind of try to get some idea of what the vocals should be, and sometimes I use that later on just to see what I was thinking, because sometimes you tend to overthink things, and go back and forth between old and new ideas, and then eventually kind of coming up with something else. But sometimes that, I don't know, like that gut feeling, that instinct is right,
Yeah.
So of course, I mean, lyrically, it's something that I struggle with a lot, but at the same time, it has to happen. Otherwise, I won't be satisfied, and I'll keep working on it till I get it right. I want the song the lyrics to reflect the music, and vice versa. It has to kind of come together, like the emotional aspect of it, and it has to. For me, at least, I have to feel something, and if I feel something coming from the rhythm of it, and especially the melodies, then that inspires me to write something that kind of fits with it. So
yeah, cool.
Sometimes I get it right, at least.
Yeah, look, it definitely shines through on the new album, and I guess it sort of touches on touching on what you've just said about the lyrics being emotive, and that I guess Dark Tranquillity has always sort of been renowned as a band that has a very emotive nature, not necessarily about the lyrics all the time, but also about the music. Seems to evoke a lot of emotions in its listeners, and I guess with the lyrics on Atoma, it sort of seem like they seem to harness some of like mankind's core feelings. So, and not necessarily the good feelings. Like we're talking things like anger, doubt, and fear. But I think you guys do it in a way where you don't, I guess, refer to real world events or real world politics. You try and keep the lyrical themes very appropriate, but also very vague. So that they're applicable to many different scenarios. Is that something that you sort of strive towards doing?
Yeah, I mean, as much as I take inspiration from everything that goes on in the world, like you try. For me, I always, what fascinates me is like you read about a certain event or something, a crisis, whatever happens in the world, like or whatever weird things that is happening right now. It's still about people. It's still about people making decisions, like forming their own kind of world around them, and having thoughts and having ideas and having like I don't know. It's about just people doing things to each other, and that's what I am fascinated by. It's like what is the motivation behind this? What is the driving force behind this movement? Like how come you're in a place where you fear everything around you? It's like how does that happen? So I mean, obviously, like in Europe, we've been going through a lot of things, like when it comes to like terrorism and immigration and all that stuff, and just seeing the way that people react to it, Sweden being a very neutral, pointless kind of country here in the middle of nowhere that no one cares about, all of a sudden we're kind of like drawn into the kind of aftermath of conflict and war, and we're not really equipped to deal with it. So just seeing how people react to it is really, really scary, because all of a sudden, like, your normal day-to-day kind of safe life is somewhat changed a little bit, but to a lot of people, it seems like everything's going to change and your world would never be the same, and you have to change your way of life just because these other people are coming over because they need support and help because of their situation, and of course, like, I want us to be bigger than what we are, and we should feel empathy and sympathy and understanding. We should be understanding and welcoming. But I see this fear and this kind of anger and frustration and hate towards anything that kind of challenges that kind of tried and true worldview, and it's really, really scary, especially amongst people that I meet all the time, or people that are close to where I live. It's really scary. Like this sentiment, all of a sudden it kind of comes out because people are being challenged somewhat, or I don't know. It's kind of like an animal instinct. You're being threatened. You're like pushed into a corner, and then you kind of lash out. Instead of accepting things, and it's super scary. And and that's one of the things that I try to write about a little bit of, like, what's going on here? Like, how come we are these really, really territorial beings, that cannot really accept that people are different, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So you get to do a lot more clean singing on this album, I noticed. And personally, I think it's showcased best on not only Atoma, the title track, but also on Forward Momentum. I know a lot of people often remark that your clean vocals are almost as powerful, if not more powerful than your harsh vocals. So are these tracks something that the fans can expect to see performed out on tour?
I think so, yeah. We just started rehearsing some of these new songs, so like last week, preparing for the upcoming tour, and they feel really great, actually. And so, yeah, definitely. I mean, those are two of my favorite tracks, and so they will definitely be in the live set.
Yeah, cool.
Pull them off, and I think we can.
Cool. So on to the upcoming tour. You guys have had a pretty full-on year. Obviously, Anders Ewers has been courting for the bass position for some time now, and that's finally come through and been formalised, so it's good that you've finally filled that hole. But on the flip side, you also have the sad recent departure of Martin Henrikkson on guitar. I know these changes would have impacted on the chemistry that you guys had on the studio and writing, but was that sort of something that was big, or?
For sure. I mean, definitely when it comes to like the mood, and of course it did change a lot. Like, all of a sudden, like, we started questioning ourselves, like, if that's how he feels, if he feels like he doesn't want to do it anymore and he doesn't really have the passions, like, or are we just like going through the motions and just keep doing it just because we don't know anything better? But I guess it kind of solidified the fact that we do this because we really, really love it, and this is something that we're incredibly passionate about. And I guess just Martin lost a little bit of that passion because he's so heavily into all the boring side of the band, that I find boring. But he loves that kind of stuff. He's the guy who arranges all the tours and books all the travels and books all the flights and buses and crew and all that stuff. And that's all he does, and he loves that. So he kind of lost. He was standing on stage thinking about the next show and how to get there, that kind of thing, instead of like getting into actual playing. So he kind of just lost that, and it's really sad. But and of course, it feels strange, like traveling without Martin. Like it's the weirdest thing. But at the same time, I email with him and I talk with him every single day, many times a day. So he's still a huge part of the band, obviously. And he takes care of everything, all the practical stuff. But of course now we need someone to replace him, and it's going to be really tough. So we kind of decided to take it easy, just as we did with the bass position, like, and see what happens. Try out some people, see if they fit into the band, because obviously we've been around forever and we've been friends since we were kids. So it's kind of hard to find someone who kind of totally fits into this group, this dynamic.
Yeah.
Anders Ivers is a friend of the band since we were 15 or something like that, so it fits right in. But maybe it will be different and more difficult for others. But for the upcoming tour, we have a guy called Erik Jakobsson, who's fantastic. So he's going to play guitar, and then for the European tour later on, maybe will be someone else, and then we'll see.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's cool. That was actually one of the other follow-up questions to that, is what was going to be the go for that position for the upcoming North American tour, but you've sort of touched on that. And Eric was in Deal's Death, if I'm correct.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, that's right.
I think he's filled in for you before during the European run in 2015.
Yes, exactly. So he's filled in with Niklas before, and then he's a super great guy and a great guitar player. So I think it's going to work out just fine.
Cool. And yeah, I guess just going back to that guitar player position, it's sort of like you did take it pretty slow and cruisy with Anders, but I guess what you're trying to sort of get across is that you guys are a collection of friends, but the band is probably more of a family, and it's finding the right fit for that sort of position to not mess around with the dynamic too much, but to also inject some life into it.
Yeah, I absolutely think so. It would be weird just going with random people or strangers that we don't really know and that kind of stuff. It's like, of course, we have a lot of friends who are willing to jump in, so that's why we're kind of gonna. I actually look forward to it. Trying out new people, traveling with some friends, who we never kind of traveled with before, having kind of introducing our crowd to some of our friends. I really look forward to that.
Yeah.
I mean, Anderson's been with us for a while now, but he's never toured with us and never toured America, first and foremost. So I really look forward to kind of having some new guys on stage, sharing the stage with me.
Yeah, definitely. That's
going to be cool.
Definitely. So you do have the North American run organised. You got some pretty good support with you on that run, but
it's going to be awesome.
When can fans around the world expect to see Dark Tranquillity near them?
We are working on this right now. In the upcoming week or two, I think we're going to announce some of the first shows. I think we're going to start in Russia and stuff like that in January. Then the full European tour will start in March.
Yep.
And then go till May, something like that. And then there's going to be festivals. And then after summer, I think we're going to do Asia, maybe Australia again, and do all the other countries that we cannot include in like the main tour.
Yeah.
So it's good. I mean, it's going to be a long one. I'm just looking at some of the dates already, and I get tired just reading. It's going to be crazy. A lot of traveling, a lot of air miles, and a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today, Mikael.
Hey, pleasure.
As I said, Atoma, it's out November 4th. It's Dark Tranquillity's 11th album. It's absolutely killer. And look forward to seeing how it goes when some of these diehard fans get in their hands.
Can't wait. I hope we raise a few eyebrows or shock a few people. It would be nice.
All right. Thanks so much for your time.
Cool. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.